Welcome students in the second video session of class 7 science chapter 1 nutrition and plants. In the previous session we have covered the topics nutrients, then different topics related to plants, that is stomata, cells, guard cells, photosynthesis and the various modes of nutrition also. So let's have a quick look on the learning objectives for today's video session. So today we are going to cover the topics nutrition, what is the photosynthesis in the various colored leaves, then synthesis of plants food other than carbohydrates, then parasitic plants, insectivorous plants, saprotrophic plants, symbiotic plants, and the last topic, that is replenishment of the nutrients in the soil. So let's quickly start with the first slide, that is what is nutrition. So nutrition means it is the process of taking the food by an organism for its growth and utilizing it by the body. So nutrition is that process in which the organism, any living organism, takes the food inside the body, and when once the food goes inside the body, it will be digested, it will reach to each cell, and in each cell of our body that food will be broken down in presence of oxygen and energy will be released. That is called utilizing the food. So the complete process of taking the food inside the body and utilizing it means burning of that food to produce energy. This process is known as nutrition. So you can see in the pictures here that kids healthy eating plate. So food gives us energy, we take the food gives us energy, food gives us growth and development too. So here these pictures show some of the healthy food which the kids must eat: vegetables, grains, fruits, proteins, fats, oil, water. These all must be included in our balanced diet so that we can get proper energy for proper growth and development of our body. So this is all about nutrition. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, photosynthesis in the leaves of various colors. Now, yesterday we have discussed that green colored leaves or green colored plants, they perform the function of photosynthesis, that is making the food. What about the leaves which are of different colors? Some leaves you can see they are blue in color, some are purple in color, some are yellow in color, and some are reddish in color. So, now, what about the photosynthesis in these kinds of leaves? In green color plants or in green color leaves, we have discussed about a green color pigment which is known as chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the green color pigment which gives color to the leaf. But the other leaves which are red, yellow, blue in color, what about these leaves? These leaves also have chlorophyll present in them. But why the green color is not shown? So the reason behind this is the red color pigment or the brown color pigment which gives them color, it masks the green color chlorophyll. Means it hides the green color pigment which is present in the leaf. Otherwise, those colored leaves can also perform the process of photosynthesis. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Now, synthesis of plants other than carbohydrates. Plants synthesize carbohydrates. Plants prepare glucose in photosynthesis. Now, what other foods are also produced by the plants? See, glucose is the simple food which is formed by the plant. Glucose is a simple form of carbohydrate. The food which is prepared in the plant is used by the plant, and the extra food which is left is stored in the body of the plant in the form of starch. Like when we cook the food, the extra food we keep it in the refrigerator. In the same way, the plants also prepare some extra food. Now where do they'll keep the food? So what they do, the extra food stored in the different parts of the plant in the form of starch. So starch is nothing but the extra food which is stored in the plant. Other than glucose, plants also prepare fats and proteins. This is very important. Plants prepare glucose, plants also prepare fats and proteins in their body. So those proteins which are formed in the body of the plants, they are called the plant proteins. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Now, Next is parasitic plants. Now, what are parasites? It's a very important term. Parasites are those organisms which get their food from the other living organisms. They cannot make their own food, so they depend on food for the other organism. But that other organism, the organism should be living organism, not dead. So the plants which obtain food from other living organisms, they are called parasites. And those organisms from which the parasite is getting the food, that living organism is called as host plant. Okay, so in the picture you can see on a big tree, the other small climbers or creepers are hanging out. So they are all parasites. These parasites get their liquid fruit from the body of that big tall tree. So that big tall tree is nothing but the host plant, and the other creepers, climbers which are hanging on those trees, they are called the parasites as they are getting the food from them. So example here of one of the parasitic plant is Cascata plant, which is a parasite on the other plants. Okay, I hope this is clear to you all. Now the next topic is insectivorous plants. See how beautiful this plant looks in the picture. Insectivorous plants. Insectivorous, as the name only suggests, that these plants are going to eat the insects now. But what about? How do they trap the insects? Okay, so see the structure of this plant. This is the flower of the plant, in which you can see there is a bag like structure and there is a lid over it. Okay, so what do these plants do? If some insect is roaming outside, and if the insect comes inside this bag and sits inside, so immediately, as soon as the legs of the insects will touch the flower inside, this upper lid get closed. Means the insect get trapped in this bag like structure. And once the insect is trapped in this bag like structure, the insect will be broken, will die, because the insect will not get the oxygen. So the insect will die. And then the insect, this plant will secrete some juices, some liquid will be secreted, and the body of the insect will be broken into pieces. Those pieces will be again broken into small pieces, and those pieces will be then absorbed by the cells of the plant. So such type of plants are called insectivorous plants. Okay, then these plants are green in color, but they are lack in nutrient elements. These plants are green in color, means they can prepare their food by the process of photosynthesis also, but still they trap the insects. And the reason is that the soil in which they grow is not sufficient in the nutrients which the plant needs. So to get all the nutrients, what the plant does, the plant trap the insects. So all other nutrients the plant gets from the body of the insects, and therefore these plants are called the insectivorous plants. Okay, one of the example, the picture which is shown here on the screen is pitcher plant. Okay. Fine, let's move on to the next slide. Now, saprotrophic plants or saprotrophs. Now, saprotrophs are nothing but the organisms which take their food from the dead and decayed matter. Now, this is the difference between parasites and saprotrophs. Parasites get their food from the other living organisms, whereas saprotrophic plants get their food from the other dead and decayed matter, dead and other decayed organisms. So they are called the saprotrophs. And here the example is fungi. The picture which is shown is of mushroom. Mushroom is a fungus. Fungus are the non-green plants. They are the non-green plants. They are of some other colors. They cannot prepare their own food, so they get their food from the other dead and decayed matter. Okay, decayed means rotten, decomposed matter. Okay, so they are called saprotrophs. Fine. Moving on to the next one. Now, symbiotic plants. Symbiotic plants is a very interesting concept. Okay. So, let us try to understand what are symbiotic plants. The picture here shown is of lichen. This is lichen. So, it is the process in which two plants live together. Symbiotic relationship. What is symbiotic relationship? This relationship means that two plants are living together, And when they live together, they are helping each other. Okay. They are helping each other in obtaining food and providing shelter. Now, a very beautiful example of this is lichens. Okay. This picture is of lichen. So, lichen is a symbiotic relationship between fungus and algae. Okay, fungus, as I told you, fungus are non-green plants. They cannot prepare their food. Whereas algae plants are very small plants and they are green in color. Okay, so these, when fungus and algae live together, this relationship is known as symbiotic relationship. So now how both of these plants, one is green plant, one is non-green plant, how these two plants are helping each other? This is the question now. So what happens when they live together? The fungus which is non-green, what the fungus will do for algae? As it cannot prepare the food, so it will provide only shelter to algae. It is protecting the algae. Whereas algae, which is green in color, it provides food to the fungus. So it's a very beautiful relationship that fungus provides shelter to algae and algae provides food to the fungus. Okay, fungus is non-green and algae is green. Algae can prepare the food, so it gives food to the fungus, and fungus, which is a non-green and little tough in structure, it provides shelter to the algae. So this is a symbiotic relationship, and one of the very beautiful example of it is lichens. Lichen is nothing but the symbiotic relationship between fungus and algae when both of them live together and help each other. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Now, the last topic here is replenishment of nutrients in the soil. Now, we all know that when plants are grown in the soil, they get water and the other nutrients, minerals from the soil. They absorb them along with water through the roots. Okay. But what will happen if the plants are continuously grown in the soil? So they will utilize all the nutrients, all the minerals which are present in the soil. Then how these nutrients will be backed in the soil? How the nutrients will come back to the soil again? If we'll go on planting the trees on the soil again and again and again, so they will use all the nutrients. So all the nutrients will get finished in the soil, and then no other plant can be grown. So the question is now how the nutrients come back to the soil. That is called replenishment, recoming of the nutrients in the soil. Okay. So let's see how it occurs. See, crops have lots of nutrients, but after harvesting, they become deficient in nutrients like nitrogen. Okay, crops, when they are grown in the soil, they use many of the nutrients, but then the soil become deficient in the nutrients, in the nitrogen, because of many of the compound, many of the minerals which are present in the soil, they consist of nitrogen. They have nitrogen in them. So now how the nitrogen will come back to the soil? So here what happens, that if legume plants means pulses means all the dals which we eat daily. If those plants are grown in the soil, so those dal plants have a very special bacteria present in their roots, and that bacteria, what it does, it converts the nitrogen which is present in the air into usable nitrogen form, and hence the nitrogen comes back to the soil, because the plants cannot use the nitrogen which is present in the air. So what this bacteria does, it converts the nitrogen which is present in the air into a usable form, into some compounds which the plant can use, and then the plant can make the nutrients of its own. So in this way the nutrients come back to the soil. Okay, so now let us summarize what we have learned today. Today we have seen in the session that what is nutrition. Okay, so nutrition, we have discussed that nutrition is nothing but it is a process of taking the food inside and utilizing it. Utilizing it means digest it and up to the process of release of energy. That complete process is covered under nutrition. Then we have seen how various color leaves also has chlorophyll, means red color, yellow colored, purple colored, all leaves have chlorophyll, but these red brown colored pigments, what they does, they mask the green colored pigment. They hide that green colored pigment. Otherwise, these leaves can also prepare the food. Then we have seen the plants can make the glucose, and other than glucose, they can also make proteins and fats. Proteins and fats are also made in the plant body. Then we have saw some important parts like parasites. Parasitic plants we have seen, where we have seen the example of Cascata plant. Parasites means the plants which get their food from the other living plants. Then insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants which are green in color but still they eat the insects. They trap the insects because they want some extra nutrients from them. Then we have seen saprotrophic plants. Saprotrophic plants means the plants which get their food from the other dead and decaying matter. Then we have learned about symbiotic plants. Symbiotic plants where two plants are living together, they are helping together, and that relationship is called symbiotic relationship or the symbiotic plants. And a very good example was quoted, that is lichen. And at last we have learned about replenishment of nutrients in the soil, how the nutrients come back to the soil. So here nitrogen nutrient comes back to the soil with the help of some special bacteria which are present in the roots of some plants. These bacteria will convert the nitrogen which is present in air into usable form for the plants. So this was all about today's video session. In the next session, we are going to discuss some important reasons which are given in the chapter and some important questions which are given in the NCERT textbook. So stay home, stay safe, and till then watch all the videos, give the test, and we'll meet in the next session soon. Bye bye.